Welcome back to another episode of A Record of My Father. Here we are. What is this? Episode 8 this season, season 3. So here we go. 8 or 9 actually. Look at us already.
Wait, are you doing arithmetic there, man?
Yeah, I think so. I think I know that. Barely at this point. But today we're going to be talking about COVID and our
Yeah.
experience during the pandemic because I don't think we ever really touched on that, did we?
No, we didn't. It was
It sucked, but
did we
yeah.
start well, I think we started this kind of at the tail end of it.
Started
It's
what?
sort of
Oh, this. Oh, the
yeah, we
show.
started the whole thing at the tail end of this. It was
I think I was in
uh
college, right?
yeah, not 2023. It was
Yeah.
right at the very tail end because we were like looking for, you know, ways to I don't know.
I think it was after I graduated though. I think it
Yeah.
was in, yeah. But
Yeah, you had time.
I
That's true.
accomplished some of my greatest things during COVID. I mean, I got into University of Virginia. I wrote
Yeah.
a book as well. And then
Yeah.
I started reading a lot again. So those were
Yeah.
some of the few things that I accomplished, which was surprising that I got anything done at all. Like I don't know.
Well, I would say that I doubled my liquor consumption.
Oh, me as well. Oh,
It
without a
maybe
doubt.
triple, maybe triple. And because I just it just so it was so weird because it was just like don't go out and go anywhere and buy anything, because if you go to the store, I mean, in the beginning, we would go to the store and remember we would wash the food in
I
a
remember
bucket.
that.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. When you look back to that and you're going like, really?
It got to a point to where I
Wow.
was like, I'd rather die than fucking use a Clorox wipe to a peach ever again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I think
no,
it's
no. I don't care anymore.
yeah.
There's a point. But I think the interesting thing is that how through time
Mhm.
that when you think about when it first started to like each time you caught it. I mean, I think I've tested positive 4 times. I believe I've had it 5 times, and so it's like I've had it a lot,
Yeah.
and I've had it like devastatingly like 15 days, lose 19 pounds, something like that, which
Yeah, the
is,
first time you got it was real bad. I
yeah,
remember I thought you were gonna die. I was so
I couldn't get out of
pissed.
bed.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing in the world. I would
Mhm.
sleep. I'd go to bed at like 8 o'clock at night. I would wake up at 10 o'clock the next morning and I'd get up and I go, nope, I'm going to go back to sleep for another hour or two,
Mhm.
but I got to pee. Okay. And then I'd make it to the restroom, come back and lay back down, sleep for 2 more hours, get up, say, I should probably drink some water or something. And then get up and then go downstairs. Okay, I'm ready for the day. I'd have a cup of coffee, drink a glass of water, and it'd be 1 o'clock. And I'd be like, okay, I think I'm going to take a nap. And this was like, I mean, days,
I have to
days.
say the sleep regimen was really good.
Oh,
I'd have to
man.
say I've never gotten better sleep in my life
Oh my
than
God. I would,
than then.
I hate to say I would go back and pay for that type of sleep because I got more sleep and it was just dead to the world.
Oh yeah.
You know, people wake up. Man, I was like, there's deep sleep and then there's like subatomic or whatever the hell it is when you're deeper.
Oh, the
And then there's
REM.
like
Are you talking about the
Earth's
REM
core.
cycle?
No, I was Earth's core sleep. That's what I was. I was all the way down.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I remember that. That was great. But
Mhm.
also like everything hurt.
I didn't really get that. I think
I
I
got
had
that.
like chest pain. I had
Yeah.
really, really bad chest pain. Like it got to a point to where I was like, I'm having a stroke or something.
Heart attack.
I
That's what I
remember,
had.
yeah, I remember that because yeah, as a
Remember when I
smoker
went to
too, I
the
was like, I'm done. Yeah,
were you there when I went to the
I was
ambulance?
not in the ER, but mom was telling me that
Yeah.
you went to go get the antibodies or something, right?
Well,
Is that what you're
first
talking
he thought
about?
I had no, first they thought I had a heart attack.
Oh wow,
I did the antibodies like 6 months or 9 months later.
oh
When I went
wow.
there the first time, there was no antibodies or what wasn't anything like that at all because it was in February,
Oh,
which
she
is
never told me that. Wow.
before anything. And I got taken. I couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
My chest had seized, and I would just come up and I'd be like, I can't get out. Can't get out of bed.
Oh
Can't get out of
wow.
bed. And I was making these weird squeaky noises, and she's looking at me and going like, well, what do you think I should do? And maybe let me die.
Was that when you had COVID?
Yeah. Well, I
Oh wow.
think they did not test for it because they didn't have any tests then. That
Weird.
was in February. Remember, it happened in Wu-Tang Clan in January, and then it came here, and then
Yeah.
by February, nobody was believing that anything was happening, and it was all
Yeah.
going to go away, and
Like
everybody's,
Ebola or something. Yeah.
it's like it's one of these limited things.
No, exactly.
But the doctors weren't ready for it, and they tested me, and they did all this different stuff, and all my blood was fine, and all my heart was fine, and everything was good. And then at the end of the day, they're like, "Well, I guess you're fucked," and they sent me off.
And then they
You
gave you
you need to go. No,
an
they told me to go
invoice
to.
for $40,000, right?
No, it was only 8,000 that time. But they told
Oh,
me to.
my mistake.
They told me to go to a heart specialist.
Ah, okay,
Then,
gotcha.
but then by the next day, it was okay.
That's what they always do as well.
Yeah, and
They're
it
like,
was
oh,
just
we
like
can't find
so.
anything, but we're gonna garnish your wages at
Well, they did
AutoZone.
that when I had the fragment in my spine. It was the same kind of thing where I
Yeah.
went in there and it was that was $11,000 worth of tests,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Well, we can't give any more drugs because you're going to die if we do.
hmm
So that's all we can do. Bye." I'm like, "So
Good
what
luck.
happens?" And they're like, "Well, you need to go see a back specialist." And I'm going like, "Well, okay. So are you going to make me stop screaming randomly here, or
No,
Nope,
sorry.
can't do anything about
Gotta
that?
figure that
Sorry."
out.
Yeah.
But what did you do during COVID? You kind of were beginning to understand that you were retiring, I think.
hmm
I think that's
Well,
something
yeah,
that
because I had left Relics, which had bought IntelliGize 3 years before, but I left in December of that year, and COVID hit February the following year. So I was totally freaking free soul
Mhm.
with retirement, but then retirement of you can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So it was open
Like,
season on
what's
the
the point?
park. Everyone went to the park, and also it's just like,
We
oh
did
my
do a lot
God.
of walking, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the national stats for like liquor consumption in 2020 and 2021, it it increased, I think, by 60 or 70%,
hmm
which means that everybody drank twice,
hmm
not just a little bit more,
Oh, a lot.
twice what they do.
Well, there was
And I
a
would,
yeah. No, sorry. Continue.
no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say there's this comedian that was like, yeah, just during the pandemic, I'd just be in the living room and I'd just black out. Just like I'd just be watching TV and be blackout drunk in the living room. It's like it's so funny.
Well, you think about that, and it's like
It's
this
kind
was
of like
this
that's what it was.
ongoing, yeah, and it was just like this thing is just like, well, what's the point?
Yeah.
We're stuck
Uh,
here. And at first everybody was trying to say, no, no, not so bad, not so bad, not so
mhm.
bad. Yet
Yeah.
everybody's dying over there. And 1 out of 100 that goes in the hospital dies. And you go on a ventilator and you're like, no, I don't want to deal with that.
I want to be drunk when I die. I'm gonna
Right.
tell you that. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I want to at least have been able to say, wow, this was cool and I had a great time, and I'm dead now.
Yeah.
Uh, and there were, what they say, 400,000 that died in the first year.
I
I
think
think
so.
was
Yeah.
that?
It
It was
was
real
around.
close to
Was
that.
that
Which is
worldwide or was that nationally?
no, that's just US.
Oh, that was nationally. Okay, gotcha.
So I mean, you break that down to like
Yeah.
how many people is that per state? It's people, we knew people, friends of friends that had died from it. So for me, it
Yeah.
was just like, you know, and I'm sure it's not easily just
Especially people with autoimmune disorders. That was
yeah.
a big thing as well.
Yeah, it was autoimmune, and then they're saying, "Oh, it's only people that are out of shape," and it's like that's over half of America.
That's a lot of yeah. That's
I
like
mean,
saying
how
it's
would
only
you argue? That means 8,000. Just if you
yeah.
were just to randomly throw the number across, it's 8,000 per state.
Wow.
I mean, that's like
Jeez.
that's uh that's a
Mhm.
chunk.
What is
I mean, I
heart
realize we got
attack nationally per year? I think it's like
oh, it's probably a lot more.
I think it's like 200, 300,000. Yeah. I
They
think it's pretty
passed it.
close.
It passed that. It,
Mhm.
it started passing
That's what made
everything,
it odd. Yeah.
and it was very like quick. It
Mhm.
just and then they came out with a vaccine, and everybody's all freaked out about the vaccine. They said the vaccine would cure it and keep it away, and it didn't.
No.
They also said that in the beginning that masks weren't helpful, and I remember that.
I remember that too. Yeah.
That really pissed me off.
hmm
They never came out and apologized. They
You
never
can't say
said,
one thing and then be like, "Oh, wait, that wasn't
no, no,
right."
you're NIH. You're supposed to tell us what the hell's going on. You're not supposed to. And what they were, what was said later,
Mhm.
not by them, but what was said later is, oh, They were just doing it because they thought everybody would hoard supplies. Well, no shit,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
but it's not their job to protect some of America. It's
Mhm.
their job to report to all of
Exactly.
us. And
And
that to
that's what
me was
led to
just
the
like,
whole mistrusting of the CDC.
yeah,
And
it
people
was
are like,
like
oh,
they
when they
they
go
they
back on their
started
word,
off on
yeah.
a shitty foot, and then granted, they were dealing with the person who was a little unreasonable, but
Hmm.
hey,
But then that gives like the fuel for the fire to say, oh, well,
right,
you can't trust the CDC because they go back on their word like they did, right?
right,
And
yeah,
then that's when
exactly, and they
the
didn't come back, and they didn't,
reporting, and when people doubt a scientific institution, that's when you
right.
start running into
Well,
gigantic issues.
and then
Yeah.
you could argue another
Hmm.
argument is as well, with science, you don't know all the factors in the beginning.
Hmm.
You learn over time. So at first they could have said masks don't matter, but then they start trying masks and they say, well, they actually do offer some help.
Exactly. Yeah. Which they did. Yeah.
And that's something that's and that would be something I would say that's what we learned over time. But
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't ever remember seeing that publicized.
Hmm.
All I remember is masks aren't helpful January, February, and then a couple months later, for some reason, they were mandatory in restaurants and crap. Which
Yeah.
is just to beyond me. And I understand that science changes. I absolutely understand when you find new information, when you find new stuff about this, and I think the idea that, well, it's easy to be critical in hindsight,
Uh-huh.
but there's so much that they could have done that would have made
Yeah.
it better.
Well, I
And
think there always is too.
I realize that we can blame the guy at the top too, because he was very uh what do you call it, hostile to
Hmm.
change. And there was the economy went from humming along to zero.
Hmm.
Everybody's getting wiped out. uh he goes out and says, well, we can give $5 billion to this, and they're like, no, you want 500 billion. And
Hmm.
then 500 billion. He's like, what? And then they raised the number again and raised it again and raised it again and raised it again, because we started to realize that he's going to work worldwide.
Yeah.
And what happens when that happens? And if you think about this, it's like, I mean, and then people start pointing fingers and say he had a
Hmm.
playbook and there was a playbook and they stopped all that infectious disease playbook and they stopped all that. They did. Okay. Oops. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. You screwed up. You messed up. They should develop a new one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there was lots of bad stuff that went along that was you know, I mean, a whole lot of people, suicide went up.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Uh,
People I knew that
depression,
yeah.
depression was through the
Gosh.
freaking roof.
No, it was crazy. For me though, like I as somebody who can be either an introvert or an extrovert, it wasn't all that terrible. It wasn't all that bad
Yeah,
for me.
you
I didn't feel
you and your
isolated. Well, also we had an opportunity that a lot of people didn't. We had access to a gym. We had access to walking around outside. Well, we weren't in an apartment, in a studio apartment. We weren't in a one-bedroom apartment or
right,
even a two-bedroom apartment. We were in a house, right? And I think
right.
that was freaking life-changing. That was
Well,
definitely changing.
was the gym already done then?
Part of it was there was a bench press in there, I think.
Okay, so we
Uh,
moved it down from
yeah,
upstairs downstairs.
because we did that
Okay,
like 2 summers
so it was
before or something, yeah, or summer
yeah,
before, yeah.
that
Oh
that
wait, no,
turned
it
out in
wasn't.
a
It was up in
really
my
kind of rude.
room. It was up in my room. That's
It
what.
was up in your room. That's where it
Yeah,
was. So it
yeah,
wasn't. Yeah, it was slowly developed. I don't think until the fall did we move everything down.
yeah. Not until the fall, or
You know,
to the yeah,
because then I got it, and then I ended up getting it painted and all that, and making a gym. And see, the gym has been something to me that is, I would say, changed my life.
yeah. I would say so as well.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's so hard to go get in your car when you're right there and your gosh is your gym, and you're like, it's too far. It's
No,
too
exactly.
far. And I'm one of those animals that once I go in there, then I can do it. I can
Yeah.
spend my hour and 15 minutes if it's, whatever. It's just a matter of getting there. That's why
Hmm.
we're talking about code. We're going to the gym. But I mean, it changed a lot of behavior.
No, yeah,
You know,
not a doubt.
I got rid of I had an odor eater in there smoking cigars all the time, and I got rid of it.
Yeah, no, no,
You
that was
know,
around that time. Yeah.
repainted. I mean, that was huge. That was a huge difference. But I mean, I started when I went to, we used to go to the liquor store every so often and buy something, and buddies would come over and we drink a little bit. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I went to the liquor store and somehow think that it was safer to buy liquor in quantity.
Yeah.
I would just tell anybody listening, uh, well, you don't know my habits, but I would say, wow, don't do that.
Yeah.
You
Don't,
you can
don't buy a
always buy
case of
another
liquor.
bottle and don't buy a case of liquor at a time. Oh my God.
Yeah. No, that's for sure.
We bought the first one and it's like, wow, this will last us a month and a half. 2 weeks later, well, I gotta go again.
No,
Got another
exactly.
case. And you're like, well, get a couple extra bottles because so it'll last the whole month. That lasted 7 days.
Two
Oh
cases,
my God.
30 bottles of liquor, 2 weeks. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. We were
Yeah.
wow.
Well, that's when I discovered like what it was like in like 1910 and like the late 1800s when people were just absolutely rip shit faced all the time and they were still accomplishing things like the light bulb
Yeah.
and things like that. Because you were
I don't
like,
know if
what?
Edison was a drunk,
You don't think he was? Maybe, I don't know.
but definitely the Wright brothers, because there's no way you're going to jump on this little wooden stick and
Oh
go off
God,
a
no.
freaking cliff and try to fly unless you're at least a third in the bag.
Alexander Graham
That's when
Bell
you
looked
get
like one, but I don't know. I don't know.
drunk
But like you
courage.
think about all those
That's what we call it.
guys and like the lack of potable water earlier in the world and like how people just needed to drink alcohol because it was fermented and it was like
Yeah.
it was a way of
And you just have a
hygiene.
mild buzz.
Yeah, no,
You know,
exactly.
isn't that
And,
funny? It's like,
and how those
wow.
people accomplished it. And that's what we did like the whole freaking time, gosh. Or at
Well,
least for
that's
the
when you wrote
first
your book.
year.
That's when you started to get motivated. And that's when I started to get motivated to be physically in a better
Yeah.
state.
Because
I feel like
you
I'm in
bring
a better.
yourself down here and you're like, oh man, you
Yeah,
gotta get
yeah,
back up here. You gotta
yeah.
go back.
Well, yeah.
No, exactly.
Well, you start to like look at your health and start to, and also I was 62 or whatever it was at the time.
Yeah.
I was retiring for the second or third time, and I was like,
Hmm.
"Is this it?" And then I wasn't sure, and then I got involved with a few things, and they went left and right, and I'm like, "Man, I don't know." And now I feel kind of comfortable with what I do. I would like to do more,
Hmm.
and I know that for me to do more, I have to pursue things to do more.
Oh yeah.
But I mean,
Without a
I
doubt.
am I am
Without a
hitting
doubt.
on average in the last since the COVID break, uh 6 countries a year.
Hmm.
That excludes coming to you twice a year, going to New
Hmm.
York twice a year, going to Florida once a year, going
Hmm.
to like wherever the hell
Wow.
else we go. We're going to Charleston, we're going to Indiana, we're going to Chicago, I mean,
Jeez.
yeah, and I mean
Quite a lot. Hmm.
plus 6 countries, you know.
No, for sure.
It's like, wow. I just think that's for me, it's all about I feel like I learn a lot
Hmm.
when I travel, you
For
know.
sure.
And maybe COVID gave me the bite more. I'd already had it, but also retirement, COVID, the whole thing, it sort of makes you have more time to be a drunk, but also at some point you can decide to be something else,
For sure.
which is good. I think,
Reinvent yourself. Yeah.
yeah. And I've tried. I failed at wow.
Well, I think that's something that we always talk about. It's hard to go back to becoming a beginner at something when you've been an expert at something for so long.
Yeah,
And I think that
that's
that
true.
is going to be an issue that you're going to deal with until you're dead. Because
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
right.
I'm never going to
Yeah.
have 40 years of experience in any field. It's just not going to happen,
No, 100%.
except for maybe picking my nose or, going to the bathroom. It's like, which are unfortunately not things I can get paid to do.
And
I
also
don't think,
something that isn't vocational based, like a job, right? It isn't
right.
something, yeah. Like you're
Yeah.
gonna have to figure out what it means to be uncomfortable as a beginner. And that's
Yeah.
that's kind of frustrating. It's kind of
Oh,
it's
yeah.
frustrating for me now in my 20s, I could tell you that. So
Yeah.
I mean
Well,
right.
especially when you're supposed to have, oh, you're old and you know everything, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's like, hell no, I don't know crap,
No, exactly.
But I've never had a problem being, what do you call it? I don't think. I think
Mhm.
as big as my confidence level is,
Yeah,
I've never had a problem with people telling me that's not right.
for sure.
You know,
Mhm.
I'm that's one of my qualities that I really try to like as much as I try to browbeat people into my position,
Hmm.
when they're right, I shut the fuck up because
Yeah.
I think that's very, 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 that's the most important thing to do is when you hear something that's contrary, you don't attack it because it's contrary. You attack it because it's wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
if
no,
it's
exactly.
contrary, then it's like, well, first thing you got to do is say, okay, is did he have a valid Zach have a valid point? And then think it through and go like, oh man, I didn't plan on that. You know, and that's just the way my mind works. And then it's like, well, if your valid point is true, then I change the way I think. And I think that's kind of the way science works too. You know, you
Uh-huh.
people sit out here and say, oh, it's this, and it's like, and it's proved, and it's like, well, it's it's an ever evolving thing forever.
Hmm.
And it's very hard for a lot of people to look at something and saying, you know, when you look at the COVID thing, it's like, oh, is it going to be this or that? It's going to be a cure or it's going to be a vaccine or it's going to work, and it's what's the and I think the thing is that a lot of it is they were frightened to say that they did not know.
Well, it's also like a lot of people don't even know scientifically. When you have 46% of Americans that read below a sixth grade reading level, it's hard to help them understand what even scientifically a vaccine is. Because I remember
Yeah,
seeing tweets that were like, what if we just got small amounts of the virus and then let the body handle it over time? And I'm like, that's exactly what a vaccine is.
yeah,
That's exactly you just
exactly,
yeah. So
exactly.
I think that
Well, I think the thing is
we
you
run into
can't talk to
issues
people
there.
like that in a condescending manner. You have
No,
to
you can't.
say,
You can't.
yeah. So the way to bring people forward is not to shit on them, it's to tell them, well, this is, and I think the thing you have to be is that the problem
Yeah.
is that you're also trying to sort of damage control
Hmm.
like society as a whole.
For
And I
sure.
think that that's very, very difficult to say,
Uh-huh.
okay, we're going to close the stock market. Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do all these things, which, materially affect, you know, millions
Oh yeah.
of people. And they've all got personal opinions. And when my opinion is that you're keeping me from feeding my family,
Hmm.
I think you're wrong.
Yeah.
And see, and that's where,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
that's where the rubber meets the road. And you have to figure out, well, I've either got to figure out a way to convince you that, well, at least your family's alive,
hmm.
or
No, exactly.
I've got to be able to a way to take care of them, or in some particular manner. I mean, there's,
For sure.
it's just wow. And this is coming right after we had the 2008 crisis, where there was, I mean, let's trust the banks.
Oh gosh, yeah. And
And
then we
now we're
never
trusting the pharmaceutical. It's the multinationals are just seem to be in control of the world.
and
Wait, did I
nobody
just
was
say that?
arrested after 2008 either, which was
That's
just
so sad.
that was abysmal. That was
That is so
abysmal.
sad.
That
I think it was just so
nobody
they
was
were.
prosecuted and brought to trial was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. I blame the Fed. I blame the whole banking agency as a whole, and I blame the Department of Justice.
And the
The
executive
fact
branch
that
as
they did
well.
not target anyone and go
Yeah.
after them and say, the reason these mortgages happen this way, and the reason this happened is because you, the people that we need to bail out, gave away money and you didn't validate whether or not these things happen. And then you can say,
Exactly.
well, the regulations, and it's like, well, if the regulations say you can shoot your mother, you're going to do it? Come on.
Well, they also lied. They were disguised as B bonds. And
Yeah.
it's like they
Yeah.
lied and
Well, they
nobody was
packaged
held
them. Yeah.
accountable for it.
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody was held accountable for it, and
And
they were
then
just given money
they
to
were they
fix
were
it.
held accountable financially.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
Like Moody's was fined because they
Hmm.
gave you all these investment grade bonds, and you're like, well, how can it be investment grade when 10% of the tranche, which is the with the one
Hmm.
tranche of it is triple B, and all the rest is triple shit.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
you
Doesn't make
know,
any sense.
yeah.
No,
Yeah,
that
it is sad. It is sad. I
that
mean,
was
we
ridiculous.
saw so many failings there in the banking industry. We saw it again with Silicon Valley when the
Oh yeah.
the head, and no one said anything about it, the head of the San Francisco Fed was actually the president of Silicon Valley Bank. So he's the guy that's supposed to make sure everything's good, and his bank goes under, and no one says, "Hey, dude, isn't that the head regulator for the whole East Coast, or whole West Coast?" And no one says, "No, no one talks anything." He quits quietly that Friday and gets a $10 million severance package. And you're
Oh my
like,
gosh.
he, sorry,
No, yeah. That's
no,
you
no,
can't do that.
no, No. Why would you trust? Why would you trust the banking people when they do stuff like that? And why would you trust pharmaceutical companies when they do it?
And that's
Speaking
why
of
people
that,
don't.
man, I'm
That's why
I'm
people
pissed
don't
off at
trust them.
Pfizer.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, I bought a bunch of them a couple of years ago, and they were doing really, 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 really well. As long as you people got sick, and
Hmm.
then you stop getting sick, and
I
now
know.
and now
Well,
they're in the
people
toilet.
now don't believe that what is the boosters? Yeah, they're like, well, I already have two,
Yeah,
and that's how
last
I
one
feel too. I mean, like after my
I
last
wouldn't
one,
do
I'm
it
like, I
again.
think I'm gonna have a stroke, and
Well,
I
I
was like,
was telling
yeah.
you. Oh, go ahead. Your stroke. What was it?
Oh, that was like 2 years ago when I got the
Was it
last
two?
booster. Yeah, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Because I was reading online, they're like, yeah, if you feel like you're having a stroke, you probably shouldn't get it. I'm like, yeah, 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 no shit. They're like,
That was your second or third booster?
second?
Yeah, I think I did second or third.
Because I
I
needed
don't
to
remember.
go for school. I think I needed at least one or
I
two. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
one.
you're right. You needed two
Yeah.
to go
Oh, I
back to
needed to. I think that was after
you
the
needed
second
two to
one.
go
That
back
was
to
the second
school,
one then. Yeah.
and you were really sick for quite some time, 4 or
Yeah.
5 days. I got my last one. I got my booster maybe 5 or 6 months ago, 4 months ago.
Hmm.
What month is it? February. I got it
Yeah.
in November.
Oh, you still got to know which one is that? What number one is that?
It's like four,
Oh, wow.
and I got that, and now since then
Yeah.
I developed ringing in my ears. I mean, very quickly. Like
Jeez.
when it's quiet, I can hear like this little ringing in my ears.
Hmm.
And so I text the audiologist and I go, that was my audiologist that got me my hearing aids, which I don't wear. And they cost a lot to sit in the account. Anyway, uh oh, it's a real common side effect. And I
Hmm.
was just like, hold it. You mean you hear ringing? It's tinnitus or
Tinnitus. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
something like that. It's something, it's not tinnitus, it's something very close to that. I don't know
Uh,
how to pronounce it. And said it was a very common side effect for vaccines. And I was just like, really? Well, interesting. I never,
no
ever,
vaccine
ever
I've ever
heard of it.
gotten. I've had
And then
ringing
the
in my
weird thing
ear.
is I asked the wife, and she said, "Oh yeah, I had it for about 6 months, and it went away." I was
6 months.
like,
Oh
"You
my
didn't?
God.
Wouldn't you think that you would?" I guess you think you're kind of crazy when you hear it, because you're
Hmm.
like when you hear noise going on all the time when nothing's happening.
Yeah. Like, where is that coming from?
Yeah, well, you wonder if it's like, remember we had the ghost upstairs in the house?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
woke up many times to the sound of the radio.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a
And it
baseball
was
game,
a
right?
ball game, right?
Yeah.
Baseball game on the radio, but I didn't have a radio, and and you would hear all that
Yeah.
in the
That's what it
background.
sounded like. Yeah.
It was just quiet enough that you couldn't make out what they said.
And then when you woke up, you're like, what was that?
Yeah, what was
It's
that?
strange. It's strange that
Yeah,
we heard it two apart, like 10 years apart or something.
and the wife heard it too. She said, "Oh yeah, the baseball game." And then Holden knew about it,
Oh, wow.
who lived in the house before us.
Hmm.
So whatever. I mean, hey, now we're talking about ghosts, from COVID to ghosts. And I mean, I've seen stuff. I've seen apparitions in the house, but whatever.
Apparitions. Good word. Good
Yeah.
word usage right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the thing is you never know if it's sunlight or anything. You walk into a room and you see some movement over here, and it could be just the light doing it. Why it never did that before the 300 times you walked in the room, you don't know. Maybe you hit the light just right that one time, and that made it go. Whoop. Or you look down the
Yeah.
hallway at where your room is before we built that section out. There was the whole
Hmm.
room standing in the hallway.
Wow. I honestly wonder if that has to do with false, like, or no, like memory. Because I remember seeing the cat too, like crawling on the bed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like seeing the cat crawl on the bed and then like the cat's gone, like in the dark. It's like
Oh,
really weird. Yeah. Like, I don't know
so
if
you
that
might have
has
been
to
having a
do.
dream and then you were not. You were just dreaming
No,
and
no, I was
then.
awake, but I think it has to do with like how when you walk through doorways and how doorways for human beings, like we remember things when we cross through those doorways.
Threshold.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
thresh. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I
I'm
think
really
it
good with
has
these
something to
words
do with
today, huh?
that. You're really nailing it, Mr.
Yeah.
Dictionary head over there.
Yeah.
Dictionary
Yeah.
brain man. But I think it has something to do with the
That's why I
threshold. Yeah.
support Wikipedia.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
I met a guy that does the wiki stuff at
Really?
Sundance actually. That was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's one of the programmers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Interesting.
wow.
Yeah. Oh, it's cool, dude. Oh, you have anything else on COVID? Any
Oh, yeah,
other?
I got lots.
Oh,
I
let's keep
mean,
going. Let's keep. We
I think
still
about
got
all the
8 minutes
different stuff.
here.
And you think about all the different stuff that kind of like, uh, I mean, what would you I think they need to do? I would love to see an assessment as like, what would we do differently? Well, we would have a book. Uh, I was very pissed off that they were selling COVID materials to the states and
Oh
not,
yeah, the
yeah, that to me
PPE.
was
Yeah,
like,
that
hold
was
on,
crazy.
hold on. The tax dollars paid for that. You don't get to give them to the states that voted for you.
And so that
That's
was, yeah, that was
that was
scary.
very sleazy, you know.
I
And then they
completely agree.
said there was somewhere around 2.3, or was it 230 billion,
Hmm.
that of the supplies and the monies that changed hands, but there wasn't any record, you know. It's kind of
Huh.
like the Iraq War when we went there in the beginning and they literally had pallets of money that they just gave away. And they
Hmm.
had no record of who they gave it to or what it was used for
Yeah.
or anything.
You
And
ever
it's
see
like it was
the Vice movie with Christian Bale where he plays Dick Cheney?
no,
Oh,
no, what
so good.
really?
So good. Yeah, it
Really?
showed how Dick Cheney got executive power over Bush from the vice presidential position,
Yeah.
and how Halliburton's stock rose 300% from the time that we invaded Iraq until like I
Yeah.
think it was about when the
It
movie
was
was made in 2015.
hugely a money grab,
Yeah,
you know.
that was a really good movie.
Well,
Really,
you
really
look at Blackwater was
good.
a
Oh yeah.
small little podunk organization and then it became a multinational.
No, exactly.
And then it had dirt thrown on it because they murdered civilians and then they changed the name to, you know, I don't know, Altria. Oh no, that's the cigarette company that did that.
Yes, Philip
Or
Morris
Meta.
rebranded.
Oh
Yeah,
no, that's Facebook. They when they get in deep shit, they change their name and change their brand.
like
They
Truist
yeah.
Banks, who
Yeah,
were
that's
Wells
right.
Fargo, right? Wells Fargo
Oh,
rebranded as
no,
Truist.
not Wells Fargo. That was
It wasn't Wells Fargo.
SunTrust.
Oh, SunTrust. Okay.
SunTrust. They were filthy dirty. They were dirtier than Wells Fargo at the peak. I mean, they did stuff like they did all the front running of your checks.
Mhm.
Like say for instance, you got paid $400 on Tuesday,
Yeah.
and say for instance you had a check for and you got $300 in your account right now. You got a check for 10, 50, 100, uh,
Hmm.
50, and you got another check for 400. The
Yeah.
$400 check came in at the end, right? What
Hmm.
they do is they would run the $400 check first, so all the others would bounce. So they collect 5 bounce fees, and
Whoa.
then they would double run them to get a double bounce fee, or triple run them to get a triple bounce fee.
Jeez.
So then all of a sudden you're just barely getting by. Now you owe the bank $800, and
That's crazy.
you're like
The
of all
absurdity in
the
that.
things in the world that I think that are to me the
Hmm.
worst thing you can do is to set out to do policies and procedures that screw the little guy.
No, I
And I
completely
think
agree.
that I mean that happened with COVID. I mean, we have relatives that needed COVID money, should have gotten COVID money because they were running businesses
Yeah.
that were frozen out and they couldn't get any loans because people like what the heck was the Midwest one? There's a Ritz Carlton and a few others. What they did is they took all of the hotels and they made them LPs, so each one was an individual entity, which was under the size that you could apply for a loan. So then they would go in and they would all get loans. And guess what? When Ritz Carlton goes to, and I don't know if it's Ritz Carlton, it was a big hotel company. When they go to, and I think Starbucks got money. When they go to the
They did.
bank,
I do remember that.
when they go to the bank, guess what? The bank brings them to the front of the line. So all you people out there that have 4 people working for you, they took your money.
Mm.
They got the free money, and it was literally free money. You had to fill out the loan processing, the proper paperwork, and immediately everybody that thought about it was like, "Wow, all we got to do is, let's say, for instance, we got 100 locations. We just set up each location as an LP, which you can do for like $80 online. So you immediately set up an LLP, and then each one's its own entity, which is under the revenue cap to apply for a loan. has under the amount of employees to
Wow.
apply for a loan. So every single franchise of McDonald's could file for it, but if McDonald's itself couldn't.
Mm, I
Not
see what
saying
you're
that they
saying.
did, you know? And so it's like, that's just, I mean, I would say that it's
Backdooring
incredibly
it.
shitty.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just,
Without a doubt.
it to me, as far as business goes, that to me is, and you got to say, well, we went by the rules. Well, you know what? Sorry. No. If you didn't need the money, because these people were making a lot of
Well,
money
that was
and
the whole stimulus
they
check thing too. Yeah.
right. They
Yeah.
survived well, but the small people couldn't get money.
No, exactly. Well, I think automatically when you see that the government's going to do something to help the little guy, you see
Yeah.
all of these large corporations invest millions of dollars in how they're going to get that money, right? From the little guy. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, isn't
Every
that,
single
I mean,
time.
and they see a big bucket of $8 trillion. I mean, the
Yeah.
same thing happened in
It's
'08 when
crazy.
they were talking about the big buyout then for the banks. If they would
Mhm.
have just taken the money and not given it to the banks
Mhm.
and just gave everybody, 100 grand towards their mortgage,
Yeah.
would have saved everybody.
You wouldn't
The
have
money
seen the rabbit
would have been
homelessness.
spent
Yeah.
immediately.
Hmm.
And but the banks wouldn't have been more powerful, and the banks would have suffered the consequences for actually making the problem in the first place. No banker got in trouble for that. And
None.
they'll argue, "Oh, it was Clinton. Oh, it was Reagan. Oh, it was Bush." No, no, it was the lobbyists and the regulators making the rules looser and looser so they could do stuff that they could get away with and make more money at,
Without a doubt.
and make it more risk, and then dump the risk onto the American public. And that's what
100%.
the banks do, and they will continue to do that. They're not.
Mm.
And the thing is that the regulators got to. They fight that every day.
No, they do.
I mean, you see it. You see it all the time. And it's like,
100%.
really? It's like,
I think
wow.
we're coming up on our time here, though.
Oh, I see 10
And
minutes. I don't see like a countdown. Do you?
no, no, no. We're at about a minute and 30 left here, so I think we're gonna
Oh,
wrap
wow.
up.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
funny that you
cool.
don't get the clock because I have the clock. I guess it's only for the
Hmm.
cool people that host the meeting, right?
Well, you're the
But
cute one.
another great conversation, and reach out to us on a recordofmyfather.com, and we also have a Q&A section in the Spotify. You guys want to ask us any questions or have any topics that you want to talk about? Do you have any ending words here on our final little remaining time?
COVID sucks. Uh, what's going to happen at the next one? I have a feeling that we're going to have another pandemic in the next 5 years.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I,
It would
I
not
just
be
I feel like
surprising.
something's going to happen again, and it's going to be more devastating.
And on that happy note, we hope that you have a wonderful week ahead of you and that this podcast helps you get through it.
Oh, and bet on the Super Bowl because one of them's going to win.
Yeah, do that. All
Yeah.
right. Bye bye.
Party on.